I'm not sure I'm prepared to say that the real estate market in Florida is crashing, but man, if you are in Lakewood Ranch, like I'm in Lakewood Ranch, it sure feels that way. I have a great article for you that I want to share, but to give you a little perspective on what's actually happening, not just stories that you hear from your friends, brothers, sisters, cousin-in-law, who's a real estate agent in Ohio. So just the facts. Are you ready? Let's dive into it. No fooling around today. So let me share my screen real quick. Gonna share this great little article with you. Saw this today and I was like, yeah, that pretty much says it all. So, why home prices in are catering in Florida? That says it all right there, right? I saw that headline. All right, so the Florida housing market has moved decisively from scorching hot to increasingly fragile. That is an understatement. After experiencing some of the nation's steepest home prices appreciation during the pandemic housing boom, Florida is now leading the way down, particularly in its condo sector, and we're going to talk about that too. Um, in 92% of tracked Florida metro areas, condo prices are falling, with two-thirds of its single-family markets are posting year-over-year declines. We are definitely seeing that in Lakewood Ranch, that is for sure. So while the national housing market remains resilient, with single-family prices up 2.8% and condo prices eking out a 4% gain, Florida is unmistakably in correction mode. Show of hands, are you seeing that where you live in Florida? Drop a comment down below. First of all, drop a comment down below. Let us know where you guys are watching from. I'm always intrigued to hear that and to find out. All right. So, what explains this divergence? It's a perfect storm, honestly, of economic, regulatory, and demographic shifts that has upended the once overheated supply demand dynamics that propelled Florida's real estate to record heights. So, from migration reversals and uh, insurance shocks to tightening financial conditions and overbuilt inventory, that's to say at least, there's around 20 neighborhoods in Lakewood Ranch currently under construction. Oh, goodness. Florida's housing market is facing pressure on multiple fronts. So let's start off with the post-pandemic migration reversal. We're definitely seeing this, whether you like it or not. Some people love it. Seeing a lot of comments on Facebook like, yeah, get out of here. We don't need you. Maybe true, maybe not so true. I've done enough videos on that topic. So the extraordinary surge of migration into Florida during the pandemic was central to the housing boom. Man, so many people moved here. So between March 2020 and June 2022, home prices in the state soared 51%. I know that firsthand because the house that we lived in about 6 years ago just got relisted for sale and went into escrow at almost twice as much as we sold it for. That is just insane. But the inflow has sharply slowed down. I just did a video about that one. I'll put a link in the description down below if you want to check it out. Net domestic migration to Florida dropped to just 64,000 in 2024, down more than 75% from 314,000 at its peak in 2022. That is a red flag right there. I don't think anybody's talking about what's going to happen. So that reversal has fundamentally weakened demand for housing of all sorts. So, with the steady inflow of higher income, out of state buyers, Florida housing markets are increasingly reliant on local purchasing power. And with wage growth failing to keep pace with rising costs of ownership, particularly for insurance and association fees, affordability constraints are hitting hard. I'm going to stop this really quick on this one because this is a topic that I've talked about before and I don't see anybody doing anything. And this, in my opinion, is not necessarily a Lakewood Ranch issue. This is a Florida, and I think it's the Florida Chamber of Commerce, I think, who is responsible for focusing their attention on bringing in primarily retirees to the state of Florida. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that one. We focus our real estate business on retirees. But if you are not creating jobs for younger people to either one, stay in the state or to attract younger people to come into the state, relying solely on retirees is not going to do it. All right, let's jump back into the article real quick. I want to talk about some of the other things. So, regulatory fallout, which is really crazy considering this is a Republican state. I'm not going to make it political. Um, but there's one party who's all about regulation, making it difficult to make things happen, and another party about deregulation, making it much, much, much easier to make things happen. So, the 2021 collapse of the Champlain Towers in South Florida and Surfside, which killed 98 people, has led to sweeping changes in Florida's building and safety regulations. These rules now mandate structural inspections and higher reserve funding for repairs, particularly in older condo buildings near the coast. I've done a dozen videos about this one too. Check out the channel, 941 Lifestyle Group, for more. So homeowners associations have levied significant special assessments and hiked monthly dues, sometimes on an order of hundreds of dollars per month. I've seen even higher than that. So this regulatory shock has hit condos particularly hard, both with raising carrying costs and chilling demand in older buildings as liabilities. So let me talk about that real quick too. And I've talked about this before, but for those of you who have not checked out the channel, might be a good time to talk about this one. So we were real estate agents here in Florida, lived here for about 11 years, moved away to Maui, Hawaii, moved back to Lakewood Ranch. On Maui, we sold a lot of condos, helped a lot of people, mostly vacation rental condos. And one of the interesting things that we learned right off the get-go is to find out from the condo associations, one, do they have any special, or if they have any reserves? They have money in the bank for projects that they know they're going to need to get done, like painting or updating the electric or painting the parking lot and those type of things, right? Refinishing the pools. Those are projects that you know are going to happen. But then there's stuff that happens from damage that you don't know. Right? You want to make sure that condo associations have that money set aside. In Florida, that was not required, which I can't even believe it. That is just insane that it was not required for homeowners associations to put aside that money. Thus, the issue that we are in now. So, say what you want about regulation or deregulation. Deregulation caused homeowners associations to not have to put aside money, and now it's causing the state a massive, massive, massive issue because some of these special assessments now are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the downside for homeowners trying to sell those condos is, one, if they can't afford it, they have to sell it. And two, if they have to sell it, now they have to disclose to the new buyer that this special assessment is happening. And why do you want to buy a condo if you already know there's going to be $100,000, $500,000, $1 million special assessment? All right, so we can't talk about why this is happening without talking about Hurricane Ian's lingering effects. And not just Hurricane Ian, we had 3 hurricanes back to back to back. Natural disasters have always been unpredictable, and the consequences for housing markets, and Hurricane Ian was no exception. The 2022 storm caused nearly 115 billion with a B damage, flooding homes, destabilizing infrastructure in Southwest Florida. It is just destructing. So in these areas, the result is clear. Year-over-year price drops of 5 to 7% for single-family homes, with even steeper losses in condo segments. We're seeing that even higher here. I think last month the prices were down like 9%. Not as bad as the past month. All right, and then a surge in new supply. And we're going to talk about that too, because that is what is really hitting Lakewood Ranch. I believe more than anything. Unlike many urban markets constrained by zoning or geography, Florida boasts a relatively elastic housing supply. It's a mixed blessing. During the boom, developers ramped up aggressively, particularly in exurban, I don't know what that is, and suburban markets. Now those homes are coming online just as demand wanes. New construction incentives, especially mortgage rate buydowns, have made builder homes more attractive relatively to existing inventory, putting further pressure on resale values. So let's talk about that too. So we are seeing that in Lakewood Ranch. So Lakewood Ranch, if you don't know anything about Lakewood Ranch, is made up of about 40, 45 neighborhoods, some of them going back to 1995, some of them currently under construction. And I believe there are about approximately 20 neighborhoods that are currently under construction. And the challenge is that the builders, even though very few people are buying, still are building homes. So the days of there being very few move-in ready homes, those days are gone. Builders have tons of move-in ready homes, meaning that they built them, they're just waiting for buyers. And the incentives that they are offering are just ridiculous and almost impossible for resale homeowners to compete with. I had a conversation yesterday with my sellers, and we were discussing back and forth what type of incentive can they offer buyers to potentially compete with new builders. And we've seen it before. People who were not interested in buying necessarily new construction, deciding to buy new construction because the incentives that they are offering are just ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to go through a whole list. If you're interested in those, just drop me a comment down below and I can email those over to you. But I saw one the other day with a free pool with the purchase of a home. Now, pools in Florida, I talked to a pool guy not too long ago. I think the basic minimum is going to cost you about 100 grand. I don't know how much these pools are that they're giving away for free, but let's just assume it's 100 grand. Shoot, even if it's 75 grand, resale owners can't deal with that one. I saw a rate buy down from a new builder down to like I think 3.75%. And as of today, I'll pull up the mortgage rates, but they're hovering around 7%. And to buy down the rates to 3.75% is just insane. Yeah, 6. See that? Yeah, 6.82% is the interest rate. Rate buy downs, I've seen it 4.25. I've seen it for 5.25. That is just insane. I've seen $75,000 toward your closing costs, or toward using that in the design center. I mean, it really is just crazy. And I think my gut is telling me, obviously, I can't predict the future, but I think it's going to be even worse toward the end of the year, because what is happening is certainly in Lakewood Ranch, very few people are buying, uh, and the builders are still building. And so by the end of the year, 6, 7 months from now, I think the inventory of resale move-in ready homes is going to be through the roof. All right, so let's talk about insurance, because this is a massive issue. And I don't know how it gets fixed. If you got any thoughts on that, drop a comment down below. So perhaps no factor looms larger in Florida's current housing woes than the state's mounting home insurance crisis. While the median U.S. premium has risen 33% over the last 3 years, Florida homeowners have faced significantly larger increases due to outsized hurricane exposure, right? 3 hurricanes back to back to back. Rising replacement costs, and a volatile insurance market. In some markets, the state's annual premiums now exceed $10,000. We know people who are paying $3,000 who are now paying like over $10,000. These spikes are exacerbating affordable issues. Home buyers not only face elevated purchase prices, but also steeper monthly carrying costs, combined with higher HOA dues, mortgage rates still nearly 2 decades high, and broader inflationary pressures. The overall cost of owning a Florida home has become unsustainable for many prospect buyers. We've seen people moving out of states, are moving to Tennessee, they're moving to Georgia, they're moving to South Carolina. We know some of them are even moving to Texas. So are we in a collapse? I am not sure I'm prepared to say we are in a collapse. I'm not sure I'm prepared to say we're in a market collapse. But there's no question the state of Florida is in trouble. So I'm not going to go through all the statistics. They just came out for Sarasota and Manatee County, but I want to give you some of the numbers of Manatee County. Now, for those of you who know, Lakewood Ranch is actually now in 2 counties, Sarasota and Manatee County. I've done a video about the stats. I want to give you some specific ones for single-family homes in Manatee County, just to kind of give you a little understanding of what's happening here. So closed sales are down 8.5%. The list price to sell price is now 95.8%. What does that mean? That means what was it originally listed for? What did it eventually sell for? So if you listed your house for $100,000, on average, they're selling for about $95,000. That really depends on kind of the price point. But new pending sales are down 5.3%. New listings, this is where just the red flags are coming up, are up 22.6% over the same time last year. That is a huge increase. Pending inventory is down 5.7%. Inventory active listings are actually up 26.2%. There are currently 3,256 single-family homes currently listed for sale, and our month supply of inventory has jumped up 26.8% to 5.2 months. What does that mean? That means if no other single-family homes got listed for sale in Manatee County, it would take 5.2 months to sell those all out. Last year, just so you know, that number was 4.1 months, and that was an increase over the previous year. So what the heck does that all mean? So that means if you are a seller, you got to be realistic. This is not 2022. Just because your house is fantastic does not mean that buyers are going to be lining up out the door. Why? Because they have a ton of competition. So your house needs to be staged beautifully. You need to hire yourself a real estate agent who knows how to market your home, because the days of just putting your property on the multiple listing service and then doing this, hoping that a buyer comes along, those days are not going to work. You should reach out to us to see what we're doing differently to market and sell homes. You need an agent who's going to be honest with you about what it's going to take. You are probably more than likely, in my opinion, probably going to have to offer some compensation to the buyer's agent. That's a conversation you should have with your listing agent, because you want to do everything you can to incentivize agents to show your properties. your property is going to have to show well if you do list it for sale, meaning that it needs to be clean, it needs to be updated. The days of being able to sell your home, even though it has a pink wall, those days are over. Paint it, neutral colors, get it clean, spend the money, get it professionally cleaned. We're talking about carpets, if you have carpets cleaned, cleaning the windows, just making sure it looks immaculate. And then you have to price it right. Testing the market is not a strategy. Quite honestly, I'm going to recommend pricing it at or below market value, depending on your area. But certainly in Lakewood Ranch, with inventory racking up and buyers offering ridiculous amount of incentives, you're going to have to compete. All right, so I don't want to do a long video about this one. I'm going to put some links in the description down below to homes for sale in Lakewood Ranch, so you can see that. If you want information about some of the builder incentives, do me a favor, drop a comment down below. I will get that to you. Also, tell me what you think. Are you seeing this in your area? If you are living in around Lake Ranch and you're thinking about selling, what's your initial thoughts? If you are watching this from maybe New York or the tri-state area or the Midwest, or maybe from California, because we know lots of people from California are moving here, drop a comment down below. What's your game plan? Are you one of those people who are hanging tight, waiting for not only the prices to drop, but the interest rates to drop? And I think, I'll say this really quick before I get out of here. By all accounts, those interest rates are probably not going to drop. Say what you want about the administration, say what you want about the Federal Reserve. Those interest rates more than likely are going to be in the high sixes, maybe in the mid sixes through the end of the year. And even though I can't predict the future, my guess is next year at this time, we will be talking about interest rates in the sixes. Kind of stinks. All right. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. We will see you.